Alex Radical from Board Game Co, and today I'm going to give you my first impressions of Blood Rage Valhalla. Although this is more first impressions than my usual first impressions. Usually I save the label first impressions for when I've played the game one time, or maybe it's a campaign game of some sort, maybe I've played the first 2 or 3 sessions, something like that. But this is much more than that, and while I will give opinions, I will not be giving ratings. I don't mind giving ratings and first impressions with caveats, but again, this is more first impressions. And the caveats, though, are, first of all, I played this only on TTS. I don't have a physical prototype. This box you're seeing here is me putting a render. I probably should do this like this. I think the physical box over here will match better. That's more of a matching to the render I threw over here. But outside of that, I'll try to throw some graphics up of various things. The board, I think, is the most important that I do want you to see. But I only played it on TTS, and I only played 2 rounds of a 3-round game. That's not their fault. It wasn't like they were saying, and the 3rd round's not available till the final game. That's just the fact that the game time ran much over, and I had an appointment to get to, and I couldn't finish the game. But I have played 2 rounds of a 3-round game, of a game that I know very well, and this Blood Rage Valhalla felt very similar to the general arc of Blood Rage, while being very, very different. And so I'm going to give you my thoughts, the pros and cons. There's one thing in particular that I don't like about the new game. Everything else, I think I like more might be the wrong terminology, because I think there's one thing I like less, there's a bunch of things I like more, and then there's uncertainty as to what the final experience will be like, or even just how it'll balance out over a lot of plays. But let me give you my thoughts here, and I'll start by saying this video is going to be a lot less useful to you if you don't already know Blood Rage. I will give a 30 seconds on Blood Rage, then I'm going to go over the main differences, not necessarily every nitpicky detail, but the differences I felt. As someone who has played Blood Rage a lot, Blood Rage was my #1 game of all time for a few years in a row. I'm very familiar with Blood Rage, and I can tell you what felt different about the game. The things that are details, I don't care necessarily about them. I might touch upon them just to give you an example of that, but I'm going to talk about the different feelings I got as I played. So, let's go through this. Let's start with the first part, the 30-second overview of what Blood Rage, regular Blood Rage, is. And this will 99% apply to Blood Rage Valhalla as well. Blood Rage is an area control game with drafting. In the game, you're going to play it across 3 rounds. In each of those 3 rounds, you're basically working with a board that has a center space that is accessible from everywhere else. So you have all these other spaces around the center, and those are all considered to be adjacent to each other, and then you have this one center space. And you're trying to, well, whenever you move, you can move anywhere in the game. So it's kind of moving is very easy. Invading less so. Getting your people onto the board, you can only invade from the outer edges, and you're going to try to work your way towards the center because that's a cool spot to pillage. But the general arc of the game, though, is in each of those 3 rounds, you're going to be drafting cards. You're going to have a bunch of these cards over here that are all cool cards, giving you abilities for your troops, monsters that are super cool, quests that you can cash in for points and upgrading your tracks. And you're trying to draft these battle cards. Battle cards are huge. If you want to win battles, you're probably going to need some battle cards to augment the strength of your units in those battles. So you're basically trying to draft the right cards. When players are done drafting, you go into the actual cycle of actions, where players are going to spend rage. You're going to start the game with 6 rage. You do have the ability to level it up as you play, but it's only 3 rounds, so you have to kind of level it up quickly if you really want to see those benefits. But as you play the game, there's lots of ways to min-max, to steal rage from other players, to have things on the board already and not have to spend all that rage again. And so you're trying to choose, do you want that really cool card that's going to give you a strong upgrade early on? Are you trying to focus on Loki strategy where you're going to die a lot and have that cash in to help you win? Do you just want a lot of battle cards because you can win a lot of battles, getting control over the field and cash in on those quests? Going quests and battles early on, that's not a move people typically see coming, and it can start you off with a very strong start, although it's a start that will level out as the game plays. And so you're trying to draft the right cards, use the right actions, and play the other players in this area control drafting game across 3 ages with tons of cool monsters, abilities, and cards to draft. That's Blood Rage, and that's 98% Blood Rage Valhalla. Blood Rage Valhalla, this is the part where I'm talking to those who already know Blood Rage or kind of have picked up enough from what I just talked about. Blood Rage Valhalla is going to have a few small changes to the game, but there are big changes too. The first thing is the core structure is the same. This is still going to be an area control drafting game that plays out across 3 ages. It plays out in Valhalla thematically, but the card types are going to be the same. You're going to have upgrades, you're going to have quests, you're going to have battle cards, you're going to have monsters, same basic structure overall. Where things start to differ is, first of all, is the pacing of the game is going to be different. So instead of having the same number of cards each round, you're going to kind of be progressively stronger as you go. You're going to start off with fewer cards, but you can hold on to the cards that you drafted in the game. Those cards, those battle cards you played, you get them back at the end of each age, because if I played a strong battle card, at the end of the round, I pull them back to my hand, and any quests I didn't cash in, any battle cards, any cards I didn't play, they all come back to me, and then I can keep 3 of those cards as opposed to the 1 card in the original Blood Rage. That gives you a lot more building towards the future, and it means that even though round 1 you only have 5 cards instead of the 6 you have in Blood Rage, by the time you enter round 2, you might have 8 cards instead of the 6 you have in Blood Rage, and round 3 it's only going to accelerate, well, I guess probably the same amount over there. But that means you do have an acceleration over how much you can get done because of those cards that you're holding on to, and that has a strong, well, let's talk about the feeling differences soon. So first of all, pacing wise, you start off with a little bit less, but you are going to arc into a bit more. Number 2 is the cards don't have ages. In typical Blood Rage, there's the age 1 deck, the age 2 deck, the age 3 deck. In Blood Rage Valhalla, you just have a deck of cards. And if you're like, well, then how do you scale around the game? Because many of the cards scale around the game. Many of the cards inherently have structure and scaling, where it's like, oh, this card says it's worth, 2 extra in combat. It's worth 2x the round. So this is a card that in round 1 is 2, in round 2 is 4, and in round 3 is 6. You have cards stealing rage. There's a very famous card in Blood Rage where you steal rage from the person who won the battle. In round 1, you steal 1 rage. In round 2, you steal 2 rage. In round 3, you steal 3 rage. Fun fact, you can no longer take a person's last rage though, so they adjusted that a little bit, for better or for worse. And so you have these cards that will inherently adjust based off of the age, but that means you are going to be drafting from this giant pool of cards. Speaking of that pool of cards, you're going to have those cards to a large extent determined by the gods in play. You're going to select 3 gods that are going to give you the flavor for the game. I don't know how many are included between the base game, between the stretch goals. I don't know how many are included, but you're going to have a bunch of gods, and you pick 3 of them. Those give the flavor. So if Loki's in the game, a lot of those cards will help you when you lose battles, but Loki's not necessarily in the game. That does several things. First of all, it means that the flavor of the game is going to be very different depending on the gods that are in play. And secondly, it means that you're going to have those age decks, those kind of jumbled up cards are going to be structured based off the gods that are in play. And so you have a very different flavor to the pacing of the game, the way the cards come out, the fact that the cards self-balance around age, or even things like, you might have a really cool monster that costs 4 rage. In round 3, that could be half your rage. In round 1, that's 2/3 of your rage, and you have to really decide if that's worth playing or even drafting right now. And so a lot of different decisions as far as the arc of the game. The game is inherently going to be less, I don't want to use the word stale because I've played Blood Rage a lot of times and I don't think it's stale, but it's going to be less similar game to game. You're going to have very different arcs. Instead of the meta being the round 1 meta, the round 2 meta, the round 3, the age 1, age 2, age 3 meta, you're going to have a meta that is completely different because the cards are completely jumbled up and can show up at any point in any time. If you're playing typical Blood Rage, there's the round 1 cards that steal rage from other players. If you're playing this Blood Rage, are those showing up in round 1 or are they only showing up in round 3? Who's to really say? And so that completely changes the flavor of the game. I'll talk about my thoughts about it very shortly. So we have the cards are different, the pacing of the age. I don't know if I said this already, the board is different. So instead of having a center spot and then all these other spots and everything's adjacent to each other, you still have a single center spot. Thor's Hall something, Valhalla, I don't remember the name. I played it once on TTS. But you have that center spot that is hard to get to. You can't invade into the center spot. You can only march there from adjacent areas. And secondly, adjacency is actually a concept. You can't simply move anywhere you want on the board. Actual areas do matter. Some of those rooms around the center hall don't actually have access to the center hall. You'd have to move twice to get there. There are some side rooms off to the edge over there that have a completely different structure. Although again, based on the way Blood Rage works, to you Blood Rage veterans out there, because of the way battles work, when you initiate a, and you pillage in Blood Rage, although it's not called pillage, it's called something else in this one. When you initiate the pillage action, the effective pillage action, whatever it's called differently, you have the ability to join in. Now, again, some differences in Blood Rage here. Spots on the board don't have specific number limits on them like they do in Blood Rage. Any number of people can go into a spot, but when you pillage an area, again, it's called something else, instead of having any number of people join, only one person from each player, including the player who initiated the pillage, can join. That limits the chaos of how things will go, but it also means you're going to be jumping around the board, so if you're in a far far spot, you might join into a battle and then be able to join into the center. Lots of small maneuvering in the board, but the board is very different. Somewhere in this video, I'll have thrown up a picture of the board so you can see it. Very similar structure, very, very different feeling. The quests are going to be a big deal. The quests are going to be, the way the quests are structured, normally in Blood Rage, you have 3 tracks. You have the track of how many points you get for each battle, the track of how much rage you start each age with, and then you normally have the track of how many people you can have on the board. That track is removed. It's same symbol, but what it does is different. So you no longer have the number of people you can have on the board. Instead, you have the number of points you get for each quest. So now you have 2 tracks for the points. Points for each battle and points for each quest. So as you pillage different areas, again, not called pillage, you will gain certain rewards, and your quests might just be worth more points as you go through the game. So your quests will level up. So you're suddenly getting 10 points per quest because you put time, effort, and attention into leveling up that track while achieving your quests. That's going to be another big difference. Those are the main things that I think. Nope, because one more time. Let's talk about other things. So a few other things. So one more thing, ships are gone. If you're used to ships in Blood Rage, that will be gone entirely as a mechanic. And there's also some rules changes. Again, I'm not going to focus on necessarily every single one, but I will focus on some of the big ones. Also, your upgrades, by the way, upgrades are no longer by type. You no longer have like warrior upgrades and ship upgrades. You just kind of have units. You have elite units that can be upgraded differently. They operate similar to mystics in the original game, where it's a specific unit type that can be upgraded on its own and affects those unit types. You also have upgrades are across the board, so you can have more monsters than 2 monsters in this game. You just have upgrade slots in general. And you also have a structure that's different in terms of the way. Normally in original Blood Rage, when you played a monster card, you can immediately invade with that monster right away. That's no longer the case. Now when you play a monster card, the monster card goes in front of you, and then you can invade next turn. So there's a delay on some of those monsters showing up and wreaking havoc on everyone else. Which I guess kind of gives enough of a structure, because these are the things I want to talk about, where I can give you my thoughts and opinions and my impressions of the game. I like most of the changes. Most of the changes work out very nicely. The board adds more, and I don't mind the original Blood Rage. I don't think the board is better. The fact that the board actually matters more. There's not infinite spots, but you can only have 1 person come in each battle. It shifts up the feeling of the game. Not better or worse yet. This is kind of in the board is not better or worse. It's just different. It's a different way of playing Blood Rage. I liked it. It added more mindfulness around the board as you're playing. It added more mindfulness around where you place people, because you can't just join everywhere all the time. You can only join one time, and that really adds a lot of decision space as far as how you place things out. But the board overall, I would say, is not better or worse. It's just different. One thing I didn't talk about is instead of having places going into Ragnarök or whatever, instead you have gods. The god tokens will show up in each round, giving you something to go for. So there's still a reason to go for certain spots in the game, but it's about the god tokens and the god abilities from those 3 gods you added. But the board overall, it's a net neutral. It is different. I like the variety it gives to a game of Blood Rage. Like for me, I'm going to play my next, assuming Blood Rage Valhalla were here right now, my next 6 games of Blood Rage would easily be Valhalla, because I want to explore all these new things. But that's not about it being better. That's just because I want to explore new things. I've played Blood Rage enough times that I like new things. I like new concepts, new ways to think about the game engine, and these definitely are new ways to think about the game engine. The god deck, the god aspect, the fact that you have different gods in the game, and the fact, well, let's talk about different things one at a time. The different gods in the game that will mess with the deck and give you a structure to the cards that show up. I love that. Like, Blood Rage, original Blood Rage has a little module, a little expansion where you can put gods on the board that give you something else to go for. That's nice, but entirely shifting up the game feeling, the fact that you can have a game with Loki, or you can have a game that's high aggression, depending on the characters you have in play, the gods in play, totally shifting up the feel of the game, that is, oh my gosh, I am here for that a million times over. The fact that you could have a Loki-less game of Blood Rage, but also a Loki-full game of Blood Rage, that totally changes the experience you'll have each time, and the combination of gods. And this is one of those times where I'm looking forward to every single expansion and stretch goal, because I don't know how many gods they have planned, but I hope they have a whole bunch. I hope they have 10, 15, 20. Maybe that's too much. 20 is more than I need. But like, if they have 5 gods, great. That's nice. You can mix things up already. If they have 10 gods or even 8 gods, the amount of combinations you have from 8 gods and the flavor they bring to the table, I am here for all of that a million times over. I love that. Like Kemet, if you play Kemet with the different tiers of power tiles and the different combinations you can have once you have like all 7 different structures, that adds so much flavor to the game you play because of those different combinations. I love this concept. I love the gods mixing up the game. More than that, just as importantly, or more importantly, I'm not sure which one, I love the fact that the ages are no longer structured as ages. Yes, you have ages, but the card deck isn't giving you cards based off of the age. I love that. Again, Blood Rage right now has a meta that there's the age 1, the age 2, and the age 3 meta. They each operate differently. Yes, how things are playing on the board will affect that meta, but there's still a meta to the specific decks you're drafting from. And that's gone now. That's gone. You have these decks that the cards will scale to a certain capacity around what's happening on the board. There's going to be opportunistic cards, there's going to be monsters, there's going to be so much happening in the game that you're never going to have that age 1 meta. This game, it removes, again, I don't want to use the word stale, but it removes the similarness of each game from Blood Rage. I love that concept. I like the concept a lot. Now, it does come with a giant asterisk that between the gods, between the shifting up of the gods and between the removal of the age 1 meta, there's a question: will Blood Rage Valhalla be a balanced experience or not? Will there be broken combos that show up all the time? Blood Rage famously is criticized for the Loki strategy possibly being too overpowered, and new players to Blood Rage frequently think everything's overpowered until they realize that everything is overpowered, therefore nothing is overpowered. But Loki does remain to this day a somewhat dominant strategy. The removal of some of the guardrails in Blood Rage Valhalla does mean that there's potential for dominant strategies and combinations, or even just randomness. You could just have randomness of, well, the way these things came out, it just, you never had a chance against that character, against that game. Even in the one game I played, you already had a chance to see combinations of cards that felt broken in terms of how powerfully they work together. Now, how does that work out long term? I don't know. I remember my first game of Blood Rage ever. I thought that the Odin's Throne card was OP and crazy, and it was ridiculous. And never once have I seen it again feel OP and crazy and ridiculous. So I need more than one game of Blood Rage to determine whether something's actually broken or it feels broken in the moment based on how things played out. But I will say that the lack of guardrails between the gods and between the age deck does have me concerned that this might be a problem without knowing. I'm very optimistic. I'm very excited for the way this allows me to play Blood Rage much more open-ended, and I recognize that comes with a potential downside. So excited with a asterisk attached to all that excitement. The quests being the quest track, removal of the horns. Effectively, you no longer have a limit to the dues on the board, but rather you have a adjustment to the quests. Again, net neutral to me. Don't know if I care either way strongly one way or the other. I mean, it's cool that you can ramp up your quests faster. I do like that lever you can have in the game, and then again, you can also have the lever of how many people you can have on the board. So it's just they removed one lever and they added another. I don't know if I have strong feelings about that. So overall, the main two changes for me are the gods giving flavor to the game, and then the age deck being, again, guardrails off. I love the concept of what this opens up Blood Rage Valhalla to be. Things I don't love, the ships are gone. I love the ships in terms of what they added to the game. The fact that they're gone, I don't know if I care strongly, but like, I'll miss the ships a little bit. The elite units is fine, but like, you know, I'll miss the ships. The elites replace the mystics from the expansion. The ships were nice to have. But more importantly, I'll say the one thing I actively don't like, and I don't know, again, I need more time to even understand why they felt the need to do this, but I don't like the delay on playing a monster and then invading next turn. There was something really, really cool about playing a big bad onto the board, swooping in, and wreaking whatever havoc you can on the board. I love that. And the delay really removes some of the strategy of that, and also some of the feeling. Because it's no longer, look what I'm doing. Now it's, look what I can do. And then you do it. Even if you do it exactly the way you planned, some of that oomph of the moment is removed. That's the only change I don't like. And I do want to speak to them and almost find out what was the reason for that change. Was there a balance reason here? Like, what was the reason for that change? Because if there's a good reason, I get it. But for me, it removes the feeling of the oomph of what you're about to do. And then sometimes, like, you do the thing and players have time to react to it. And you're like, well, that wasn't fun. I drafted the super cool monster and you guys just changed the board state so I can't do that. It feels a little bit, again, maybe there's balance reasons for it. That's the only change I don't like currently based off of one play. So take it with a grain of salt. Two, both the things I like and the things I don't like, take it with a grain of salt. But that's the only thing that I didn't like in the new Blood Rage Valhalla. Everything else was either different or arguably better, with the caveat that removing guardrails opens up the door to broken combinations on a game that's already known for broken combos and OP and all that stuff. That's kind of my overall experience playing through Blood Rage Valhalla. I liked it a lot, and I'll start by saying that when I first played, I didn't realize that your game was going to escalate, so I just got 5 cards in round 1. I was like, this is Blood Rage with less cards? This is stupid! I don't like this one bit. Why would I play Blood Rage when I have less cards and less things to do? I want more cards and more things to do. And then I found out that you do have more cards and more things to do, and that game actually scales up nicely as you play through it. So I definitely started off being uncertain about it. by the time I finished age 1, I was here for what was happening, and by the time we finished age 2, I was really here for what was happening. I couldn't finish the third age, unfortunately, but I really wanted to. But seeing the combos pop off, seeing players build in different ways and have broken things, everyone felt like they had something broken going on. It felt like rediscovering Blood Rage for the first time, with a lot of changes that I think will give it legs to a large extent. And so my first impressions are strong. I'm not rating this now because instinctively, I would give it a 5 out of 5. Blood Rage is a 5 out of 5 game for me. It's gone down slowly over the years, but it's gone down from like number 1 to like 30. It's still a great game for me, and it's still a 5 out of 5 game. It's still an experience I love, and this is everything I liked about that. I don't know. I need more than 2/3 of a play to really give it a rating, and I don't want to come across as too excited on a game that I played for 2/3 of a play. But it is Blood Rage with a bunch of changes that are meaningfully different. Like, do you need Blood Rage and Blood Rage Valhalla? Absolutely not. If I recommended one, what would it be today? Blood Rage, because I have dozens and dozens of plays of Blood Rage, and I have 2/3 of a play of Blood Rage Valhalla, so I know which one I'd recommend. If I had to keep one right now, I'd keep Blood Rage Valhalla, but that's partially biased by the fact that I've played Blood Rage so much that Valhalla represents a new opportunity to explore the Blood Rage meta with a whole bunch of changes. But the reality is I don't think that it's going to be one or the other. I think both have their place. They are similar in the general structure while being different enough that I'm going to want different experiences from them. But that's my first impressions of Blood Rage Valhalla. I really enjoyed my first play of the game. I'm looking forward to playing it more, and I'm looking forward to all of you, especially if you're a Blood Rage fan, being able to experience this one for yourself and seeing what it has to offer. I will say that I was less excited about Blood Rage Valhalla. I was excited about it no matter what, but I was less excited about it until I played this. Because I wasn't sure, is this going to be just Blood Rage with minor tweaks? Is it going to be terrible? When a game sets a high bar, it means that the next thing over has to beat that bar or match that bar, or it ends up being the thing that I'd rather just play the original. And I'll say that at least in that capacity, I don't have that fear anymore. In any case, until next time, I hope you found this video helpful. And as always, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I hope you have a good one.